All right, the disrespect coming in for the Chargers and specifically your quarterback, Justin Herbert, is real on a very recent article that I was reading, and I'm here to tell you why this is awesome. Like, this is just awesome. And it's not because I agree. Justin Herbert is phenomenal, and I think he is only tapping his true and full potential as an NFL quarterback. But we're going to look at what was said about him that kept the Chargers in third place in the division this upcoming year, and the pot shot that was taken at Herbert for no apparent reason. And so I'm just sitting here. We're going to talk about it. But if you're new to this channel, me and my buddy Chris started a little over a year ago. I just got back involved. I was on it for like 6 months, then off for a while, had a bunch of busyness with family. And it was time. It was time to come back to the channel. Just enjoy talking about it. We love Jim Harbaugh. We are Lions fans. We are Michigan Wolverines fans. We're bringing you an honest assessment of your Chargers team with some insight that most of you probably don't know, because we've been watching this coaching staff in its entirety almost for like a decade at Michigan. So anyways, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what this was and exactly what was kind of talked about. And here's what's crazy to me. Here's the exact direct quote. Los Angeles did add some necessary offensive talent, but I do personally wonder how much better they can be as Justin Herbert. This is a quote. I don't personally wonder this. This is Scataglia. All right. He was NFL Spin Zone. And he wrote, as Justin Herbert seems to have hit his peak in the NFL, will Herbert be good enough to lead his team anything more than another wild card berth? And all Chargers fans said, boo! No, absolutely not. That is not what this is. Look, this team went from 5 wins to 11 wins last year while arguably having a worse roster than they did the year before. So last year they won 11 games. They had a worse roster than they did the year before. They had like $50 million in dead cap. In fact, so did the Broncos, by the way. I was absolutely amazed to watch this team compete at the level that they competed as a team with that much in dead cap. And closer to 30 million. But anyways, with all of that being said, to then turn around and be like, oh, Justin Herbert wasn't that good. All right, when you look at PFF, overall, the team's offensive grade was 13th, but they scored the 11th most points in the NFL. They scored the 11th most points. Do me a favor and think about who was on that offense. I mean, just think about it. You had 2 solid tackles. Anything else that was phenomenal on the offensive line? No. How about your running back room? Is that anything to write home about? I'm not saying that J.K. Dobbins didn't play great, right? But the running backs were woefully under-talented or post-injury. What about your wide receiver room? You relied on a rookie, a good rookie, just to be clear, and Ladd McConkey as your primary weapon and almost sole weapon. And you managed to put up 402 points? And you're going to sit here and tell me that Herbert isn't great? Are you kidding me right now? Look at this. With the PFF grade from last year. All right, this is yes, your new ones. The second best wide receiver you had last year was right here. Quentin Johnston. I'd make the argument that Palmer was better. Who is your tight end? Right? Herbert. Let's look at Justin Herbert. He put up his greatest grade. And by the way, as far as grades go by PFF for a quarterback, he rated 4th last year. So when you say he seems to have hit his peak as an NFL quarterback, so his peak is what? The 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th best quarterback in the NFL? Like, okay, I'll take that. The problem last year was not Justin Herbert. It was a lack of depth and an overall lack of talent. That is the reason this team struggled to go past the wild card. That's the reason they struggled. That's the reason that in the playoffs, they had a loss at the Houston Texans because the Houston Texans were in year 2 of the rebuild. They weren't in year 1. They were in year 2. They were just 1 year ahead. And they were figuring stuff out too. So you sit here and you can make this easy assumption. It's not even close to true. And then when you look at other places, let's look at this. I just found this article too. PFF came out with their top quarterbacks. Tier 1 is the elites. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. Sure, I can agree with that. Those are the big 4 elite quarterbacks. Then you have your high-end starters. In other words, the next level. And there's 4 of those. It's Hurts, it's Daniels, it's Stafford, it's Herbert. This is what you want to be seeing if you're a Chargers fan. You want off-season news that you feel is saying to your team they're not good enough. Or, you know what, they're not going to be as good this year. You want to know why? Because that means you have arrived. For so many years, you have read articles about how the Chargers could be better or what they need to change to make it to the next level or things like that. So when you hear stuff like this, you realize you've started to make it to the next level. You've started to make it to the next level. And what's beautiful about this team is it's not just the offense. They have completely overhauled the offense. They have a couple of new rookie wide receivers. It is going to be a very good thing. You are going to see Herbert get very comfortable this year. I'm telling you, you're going to see him get very, very comfortable. Last year, he also was hurting. Like, he had that ankle injury not too far into the year, and then it's like, all right, what is he going to be able to do? What is it going to look like? But when you see him last year as compared to other years, right? You got to look down here. Got to look all the way down here, and I'll try and see if I can get this zoomed in. Tell me about the peak and what he's hit, right? Tell me about the peak and what he's hit. Yeah, in 2021, he was slinging the ball all over the field, and 2022, for sure, 5,000 yards, tons of touchdowns, but how's the touchdown to interception ratio? 2023 was better. 2024 was even better than that. He had his best passing grade yet because his touchdown to interception ratio was so much better with what is undoubtedly his worst wide receiver core of his career. In those other years, in these big years, you've got 2 elite wide receivers that he's throwing the ball to. And we're sitting here, and not only that, but the amount of yards he got by dunking it off to Austin Eckler. He had nowhere near the offensive firepower this year as he did in other years, and he still put together, by metrics, by grading, and all of the efficiency standpoints, the best year of his career. And you're sitting here telling me he's hit his ceiling. Yeah, you tell me that after this year when he has even more weapons and he throws for 4,500 yards and 30-plus touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions, and then the year after that when he's back throwing 4,500, 5,000 yards and just going nuts. Look, if you're a fan of this team, you know for a fact that in 2021, 2022, and 2023, Justin Herbert had to play on his head. He had to play out of his mind in order for this team to get victories, which is exactly what he did. Now he has a team around him where he can play out of his mind and the team will get victories, or he can play poorly and the team will get victories. And by the way, just for clarity, with the ankle injury and everything like that, when you look at this, his first 5 games were brutal. They were not great. And then look what he did the rest of the year. Absolute masterclass. Absolute masterclass. So let's not sit here and talk crap about Herbert. Dude is a stud, and he is in a system that will allow him to succeed. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.